Hello, have some news for you. We have a major ally now involved in the preservation of an area that is very important, and that's the area around Pinelawn. This particular area right here that they want to build this big industrial park in. Now that the Long Island Pine Barrens Society is involved in now the fight, and I'm actually very impressed and glad that they got involved because this is really very important. Let's see if I can find the article here. Where it is here. Let's see if I can find it. Here we go. So there's an oak brush plain, and they have an article about it here. So this is the westernmost remaining piece of the recognizable oak brush plains vegetation is the 110-acre parcel owned by Pinelawn Cemetery Association, often labeled on maps as Colonial Springs Park. It is located east of Little East Neck Road and north of Long Island Avenue. On November 24th, the town of Babylon held a public hearing on a proposal to create a planned industrial park zoning category for parcels greater in size than 90 acres. It was widely known that this proposal was a preliminary action to change the zoning of the Pinelawn Cemetery Association parcel from residential to the new proposed PIP zoning. Most of the properties commenting at the hearing opposed the proposal. Most of the parties commenting at the hearing opposed the proposal for reasons ranging from increased traffic, noise, and pollution impacts. A few supported it, hoping for more jobs for residents, including those of adjacent Wyandanch in particular. What went unspoken was the track's intrinsic and ecological and clean groundwater recharge significance. In the Heath Hen Volume 1, in July 1980, the Society's early journal, my article about the Oak Brush Plains laid out significance and plight of this westernmost section of the original Long Island Pine Barrens. An earlier broadsheet flyer and article in the Sunday magazine section of Newsday by the late Long Island naturalist and ecologist Frederick C. Schloss in the mid-1970s also highlighted this area. The name Oak Brush Plains, which also is what Edgewood also is called, is a more recent coinage of an older designation for brushy plains, a zone of transition eastward from the Hempstead Plains to the denser Pine Barrens formations near the Connecticut River drainage. Along this continuum, or gradient, the eastern tall grass prairie in the United States gradually transitioned first into islands of scrub and dwarf chestnut oak mixed with patches of heath shrubs and bracken to islands with tall columnar pitch pines, and finally to the continuous plains of the two shrubby Pine Barrens oaks with diverse understory shrubs and wildflowers adapted to frequent wildfires, peppered with a scattered open canopy of pitch pine. One of the reasons the Oak Brush Plains is so distinctive is its soils. Instead of the coarse, superacidic Carver Plymouth series of the eastern Pine Barrens, including the porous soils of all the dwarf pine plains south of Riverhead, the Oak Brush Plains are underlain by richer and smaller grained Riverhead and Haven soil series. And that's why they tend to be more muddy, I notice, versus the Pine Barrens after a rain. The soil is definitely different. This reflects what the glaciers brought down from the continental areas directly north of Long Island, and what their meltwaters washed out to form the outwash plains south of the moraines upon which most of the Pine Barrens vegetation developed. As a result of this differential sediment sorting, the Oak Brush Plains had a richer flora and fauna than the rest of the upland Pine Barrens to the east. Even continuously distributed Pine Barrens organisms varied along this continuum. So buckmoths, for example, when larger and more densely scaled and colored in the Oak Brush Plains than in the far harsher dwarf pine plains located 50 miles eastward. It is vitally important to our future ability to restore the ecological functioning of much of our island, which was lost in the runaway post-war development, but not permanently, if we can at least save the few remaining examples of such major ecotype as seed parcels for such restoration efforts. The Pinelawn tract is one such proposal. The rezoning should be turned down, and the parcel should be publicly acquired and made into a real park, a park preserved for the westernmost Pine Barrens remnant left on Long Island. Now, we all know this was probably written before the town of Babylon approved that zoning change, unfortunately. It can still be stopped, though, if the county would step in and preserve this land. I really got to try to reach out to Ed Romaine, and hopefully they're reaching out to County Executive Ed Romaine as well, to preserve this as Colonial Springs Park, which is what it should be. And as you know, so this is really, really important, and I really appreciate and thank the Pine Barrens Society for getting involved in this. Finally seeing them get involved in some of the issues affecting the western parts of the Pine Barrens. And I'll link you to this in the description below. So again, we all know this area right here, and very beautiful area too. And it's called Oak Brush Plains because you notice it is brushy. There are pines here, beautiful pines, but there are also scrub oaks. This is also home to, I've seen eastern blue-eyed grass here. A number of wildflowers occur on this site as well that aren't too common on Long Island. So really important that this is preserved. It is unconscionable that town of Babylon is trying to actually think that they can actually get away with this, and Pinelawn too. But I'm going to do my best so we can stop this development from ever happening. What a disaster it would be if it were to happen. I do have some other news here that I'll mention as well in this video. We have another area that is a concern for developers. At least there was false alarm with this. This is an area in South Setauket. I always thought it was part of the park over here, so we're going to go over here. There's a Levitt Ballfield Park over here in South Setauket, which is right over north here. Right over here. So you see this area of woods right here? It's a beautiful pine desert area. Well, it's owned by the Three Village School District, and so there was a for sale sign that was posted outside of that property. And they actually have some pictures of it. We can't really see it here too well, but I'm going to recently read this article from LA Parks about this, because that is an area where there are pine barrens as well. I've only been there once, but it's pretty beautiful as well. You can actually see some pine barrens heather. I think that might be pine barrens heather there. Sure, but right there. So, which is another plant you'll see in the Pine Barrens. It's more common in Jersey, but it's good to see it there. But anyway, for sale sign on Hawkins Road raises questions in deed language, points to long-term protections. The good news is they can't develop it, all right, because the deed prohibits it. So a recently posted for sale sign along Hawkins Road in Centereach in South Setauket sparked immediate concern from nearby residents who feared that more than 18 acres of mature woodland next to the Levitt Ballfield and the new Village Recreation Center could be headed toward development. The parcel, a largely intact stretch of woods bordered by Hawkins Road and residential neighborhoods, sits in a part of the Three Village area where open space has steadily disappeared over the decades. Its visibility and size made the sign hard to ignore, especially for families who use the adjacent ball fields and recreation facilities. According to a public statement shared by Suffolk County Legislator Dan Panico, the land is not privately owned and is not subject to any active development proposals. The property is owned by the Three Village School District and was conveyed in 1969 by Levitt and Sons, because Levitt Town was not the only development Levitt built. He also built a number of other developments, including this development here in South Setauket. The deed language, portions of which have circulated among residents in scanned documents, includes a conditional clause that becomes central to the current concern. The deed specifies that the land is held for school purposes under New York State education law. If it is ever determined that the property is no longer being used by those school purposes, ownership does not default to a private seller or developer. Instead, the deed directs the transfer of land to the town of Brookhaven. At the time the deed was written, Brookhaven Town Hall was located on 205 South Ocean Avenue in Patchogue, a detail noted in Panico's explanation to avoid confusion over the language. The key point is that the transfer clause appears to be automatic and permanent, meaning that if the school district no longer needs the property, the town becomes the next owner, not the open market. There are no development applications on files. Panico stated that he has already spoken with the town attorney, who is expected to discuss the matter directly with the school district. As of now, there are no applications filed with the town for subdivision, rezoning, or development of that parcel. Town officials have also indicated that if the land were to transfer, the intent would be to preserve it as a wooded open space rather than pursue construction or commercial use. For residents, this addresses the most immediate fear that the appearance of a for sale sign signals imminent loss of the woods. Why the for sale sign appeared at all? What remains unclear is why a sign advertising more than 18 acres appeared on Hawkins Road, given the deed restrictions and public ownership. In some cases, some such signs are placed during internal evaluations of surplus property, valuation exercises, or misunderstandings related to the history. Until the town and school district complete their review, the sign itself should not be interpreted as evidence that development is planned or permitted. So town of Brookhaven is a totally different approach than the town of Babylon, as you see. Town of Brookhaven cares about preservation, unlike the town of Babylon. A reminder of how deed language protects open space. This situation highlights how older deed restrictions and conditional conveyances still play a powerful role in land use decisions today. In a region where wooded parcels are increasingly rare, such clauses can act as quiet safeguards, ensuring that land intended for public benefit remains in public hands. For now, residents near Hawkins Road can take reassurance that, in fact, the legal framework favors preservation and local officials are actively monitoring the situations. That's really good news over there in South Setauket, and I'm glad to see this. I always thought it was part of the park, but I guess it's just some undeveloped land that was deeded to the school district when they built this here, this development. So we have another news here about Caumsett State Park. This isn't really Pine Barrens, but it's still pretty cool. The Caumsett State Park is adding 100 acres of ecologically sensitive land, and this is where it is right over here. So it's this area right here. 100. So this is pretty big spot over here. Caumsett's a beautiful park. Unfortunately, there's no transportation here, but I'll just briefly show you this area as well. It's unfortunate the media doesn't cover any of this, but that's why I'm here, I guess. So it's this area right here that's being preserved. Not necessarily pine, but it could be pines here. But this is the area right here. So it's going to be expanded into Caumsett State Park, which is, this is Lloyd Harbor, and Caumsett's a really very big park, as you see here. Don't think there are any pines here. Not really Pine Barrens environment, but very pretty park. I wish I could visit it, but there is no transportation. This is like this is you'd have to walk all the way from up there. Anyway, that's the news I've got for you on things, and they also spoke about two other things that happened here as well. That they did add 100 acres in Calverton on the west side of Fresh Pond Avenue. 65 acre on the west side of fully preserved on the other side of the road. So this is going to be a preserved area over here too as well. So if we go over to Fresh Pond Road, which is, if you take the 62 bus, use it, goes down Fresh Pond Road, which is Fresh Pond Avenue, I believe, right here. So I believe it's this area right here that they're talking about. I'm pretty sure it's this area right here. So, and then there's also this area too. I think they're working on as well. So, yeah, they're actively They're actively working on preserving this area. There are some pines here, as you see. This would load. That would be good. See, there's pines here, so it's a nice little area here. A lot of nice pines in this spot here. I haven't been on this road in a while because I haven't taken the 62 this way in a while. But I believe this is the area they're talking about over here. So it's this area right here. It's a preserve right here. So that's it right here. Unfortunately, there is something about they got a tractor supply across the street, but they're trying to preserve in Calverton, which is good as well. So which is good to see. So there's a farm. Yeah, you don't see much, this is a part of Long Island that has been left largely untouched, and we need to leave it that way. So that's the news I got for you. Thanks for watching.